leaders and businessmen of Knoxville, Tennessee. Before this line was built, if you wanted to ship something from Knoxville, Tennessee to Atlanta, Georgia, it had to go through Chattanooga. Oftentimes that would result in a delay of a day or two, getting it reclassified to another freight train. So they decided they wanted a direct route to Atlanta. They contracted with two different companies. The Knoxville Southern started in Knoxville, worked their way south. Marietta, North Georgia had already built from Marietta up to Canton, Georgia, and they kept coming north. And both of those companies met on the evening of June 30th, 1890. Now the track workers were offered a bonus if they got the track finished before July 1st. Well, they did their part. They finished literally in the evening hours of June 30th, and the first trains ran on July 1st, 1890. Now, the city of Knoxville is one that's giving the bonus out, so they gave all that bonus money to one of the vice presidents of the Knoxville Southern, who promptly disappeared. He stole all that money.
Oh, no.
But, like most thieves, he was found out, he was caught, and they were able to pay most of the track workers, but some of them had already gone and left for other projects. But nonetheless, the line was completed, and it didn't take them long to figure out the way they went up one of the mountains was the wrong way. They went up the mountain we call Bald Mountain using a series of switchbacks. You know, if you drive a mountain road, you have a hairpin curve. You have to turn real sharp. Well, trains don't turn that sharp. So the train literally had to go zigzag up the mountain, back and forth. Go up, then back up one leg, up again. And it was a terrible delay in the railroad. Eventually those two companies went bankrupt because of it, and they reformed immediately as the Atlanta, Knoxville, and Northern, and they're the ones that had the loop built that we'll go through today. Alright, we're coming into Reliance now. You'll see some side track with some of our track equipment and our spare locomotive on the left, but on the right, if you look across the river, you see an old two-story farmhouse. That's the old Webb family farmhouse. The Webb family's been here for many generations. In fact, in the 1930s, two brothers built Webb Brothers Grocery right up here on the right, past the road crossing. And one of their grandsons and his family still run it. They are also one of our rafting facilities here in Reliance. Also on the right, some private cabins. But coming up on the left is a very interesting house called the Watchman's House. Now the railroad built this house, and he and his family were allowed to live there as long as he did his job of keeping the bridge from burning up. Anytime a steam locomotive passed over the bridge on a dry day, he would have to come out the back door, grab 2 buckets of water, and walk all the way across that bridge and make sure no fires had been started by that old steam locomotive. They had a bad habit throwing cinders out their smokestack, dropping hot coals and embers out of their ash pan and firebox. So right up here on the left, car 1, you should be able to see it. It's that wooden house with a rock foundation right there. That is the old Watchman's house, or bridge tender's house. Car number 2, we're passing the old bridge tender's house. That's one of the old original Reliance Depot signs on it.
Oh, I heard you, Eliana. We're passing.
Car number 3, you're passing by the Watchman's house, which is available for rent. You can rent one room out of there, or you can rent the whole house for a big family gathering. Cars 4 and 5 passing by the Watchman's house or the bridge tender's house right now. And if you look to the right through the trees, you might see that little white grocery store with a Texaco sign across the river. That is Webb Brothers Grocery. For a small fee, they'll rent you a raft, kayak, even a glorified inner tube, and take you upriver about 5 miles.
This
let
was
you
where we
float
were going to
gently
do the
down
rafting.
the Hiwassee.
We came right here.
the right side across the river is the old Union Church built in 1904. Not only was it a church, it was also the local Masonic Lodge, and very briefly it was a school. When it was a school, you only had to go from the 1st to the 7th grade. You didn't have to go to the 8th grade. Guess where you went? To work. Dad needed the boys' help on the farm with the cattle and the crops. Mama needed the girls' help in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning, and canning. Also on the right is a public boat ramp. If you get somebody to drive you up to the other boat ramp, you can float down here to the
Oh, this is nice
But
camping
on the left is our other rafting facility here in Reliance, Hiwassee Outfitters. Both Hiwassee Outfitters and Webb Brothers Grocery will take you upriver about 5 miles, drop you off, and it's usually about a 3 to 3.5 hour float down the river to the respected agencies there. Now, our friends at Hiwassee Outfitters have some cabins available and also have a pretty big campground. You see it on the left. And our friends at Webb Brothers, they're the ones that own the old watchman's house or bridge tender's house. You can see them to rent a room out of it or rent a whole house. Well, you can make a nice relaxing weekend here in a little old quiet Reliance. Float down the river one day, ride the good old Hiwassee train the
Yeah,
next.
that was, that church residence hall, that's how the weekend was going.
Now, once we pass Reliance, that's when we start maybe seeing some of our favorite wildlife, the bald eagles. The bald eagles are not native to the Hiwassee River. They were brought in the 1970s when they were on the endangered species list. The TWA brought them in from out west, and they have thrived very well, adapted to river life on the Hiwassee very well. And you may also see our native bird of prey, the osprey. So you see a bald eagle, let out a shout, let everybody in your car know where it's at. Figure it out, I'll announce it on the intercom system. Coming up in a few moments, on the right side is the first of our ghost towns. The old ghost town of Etowah, Tennessee. Now, we've never seen a ghost there, but we call them ghost towns because they used to be big